Good evening, everyone. Glad you are all on. Advanced Kingdom is here. Good evening. Good to see you, Kamika. Jeremy, good to see you. Dr. Denise, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Judy, good to see you. Dr. Lakeisha's on, Brian's on. Good evening, Michelle, Paula. Good evening. Just glad to see everybody is on. Dre is on. Good to see you. Good evening. All right, well, let's get right into it. We got we're eyeing Nikkei sales tonight. For various reasons, I've already entered into the sale, which is really we need to not in the best position. I'm kind of wanted. So let me walk through really quick what we're looking at tonight as we jump into this. So Father, we thank you. We're going to open up in prayer. Father, we thank you for tonight. We ask that you would be with our mind, that you would cause us to excel in the markets tonight, that you would give us the spirit of wisdom to know what to do, what to look at. Give us a word of knowledge, word of wisdom to know how we should discern these markets so that we can be profitable. And for this, we'll give you praise, honor, and glory in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. So as we're going to jump into this, a couple things that we're going to look at. Let's go to the day chart first. Let's just see where we're at in time. A few things are going on with Nikkei. I'm going to take the order off just so you can see it. I'm limited with screen space. Let me move a few things around here because I'm limited with screen space. So let me make a couple adjustments. Positions. Let's take the positions off. Let's take the order off. Then I'll bring it back on. We know we're in this right where I have it at, but I want to show you this. I want to make sure my screen is large enough so everybody can see it. And yeah, let's have a good time tonight. We are hitting the ground running. It's that 8 o'clock candle that we're going to be trading. We're going to trade that to the downside. And a few things are happening that lends us to that. Tonight, there's something I want to talk about is Fibonacci retracements. I don't get a chance to talk about it too much, but I want to talk about it tonight. And so if you look at Nikkei has been on this uptrend. And you can look at this from two different ways. You can look at it as very bullish in an uptrend, or you can look at it that it's in a downtrend and this was just the retracement. If you look at it from both ways from the Fibonacci. All right, so this is what we're going to do. Is we're going to pull Fibonacci low to high, and we're going to see that sell off come and touch that 78.6. Now, normally when we work our fibs like that at that 78.6 level, those that's in the advanced community kind of know the way that we treat 61.8 and 78.6 from a fib level. What it does is it will retrace, hit the 78.6. The first PRZ zone or price reversal zone will be 23.6. Right, so price pushed off of 78.6, came and hit 23.6. All right, so when you see it hit 23.6, what is it normally going to do? It's going to hit the PRZs just above where it found support. All right, so it's 78.6, hit 23.6, came back down and hit 61.8, came back up, is hit 38.2. So there is a huge, if you're looking at the upside potential on this, there is a huge opportunity for price to break above 38.930 tonight and stay above that. So if you're in the buy position, or if you have a biased view on what Nikkei is doing, we're right under that 38.930. We could potentially, a lot of potential here for us to break to the upside, retest the upside, and then keep heading up. All right, so that's huge potential for what Nikkei could do. That's a possibility. So I wanted to point that out because that is likely on Nikkei. All right. But what I'm looking at here is not necessarily going this far back in history, but just looking at the sell-off. You had the divergence that usually plays down. It played down. It broke structure right here, which was that support broke as resistance, but we haven't really retested and respected that break of structure right here, right? And that's currently what we're doing tonight is we're going to come back and retest that. And if you look at it from that perspective, as that break, as a change of structure, and just go low to high, we hit the 61.8. All right, so the same thing happens in reverse. If you're going to hit the 61.8, what level are you going to touch on the PRZ? The first level is 23.6. So it hit 61.8. You can see here that it came down here. It hit 23.6, came back up, hit the 50, which is the level below it, and now it's pushing down to potentially retest this bottom where it's been testing before. All right, so we're at in between positions. That doesn't really give us a strong direction when we look at the day. We know that we have two options that the day could do. All right, so I'm just walking you through this trade. We could break to the upside, climb on top of 38,930, break to the upside. That's a possibility. But this has a lot of potential to break to the downside as well. All right, and so when we look at that from a lower time frame, just to see where we're at in space, we have been sitting on this area where we've been producing these lower highs. We're in this on the lower time frames. We're in the channel that's producing these lower lows, lower highs here, right? That's one thing. Second thing, and that's right off of the trend line, the overall trend line that we've been on. We've been selling off from there. All right, so we have to climb on top of that and break to the upside. Second thing is that we had the last sell-off produced a low, and now we're climbing back up to retest this sell-off, and we've been hitting a level that was support. We've retested that a few times as resistance. Okay, so we could be heading down, and let me just draw this pattern for you really quick here, and then we'll go back to the trade, because in slow markets you have some time to talk through the trade. It's not like morning markets where you have to rush through everything. You have time to break down the trade so that you can see where everything is at and where you want to enter, right? And so this level right here has been tapped twice. It tapped here, pushed down into liquidity, came back up here, tapped it again, and then we had the final tap, and then we pushed back down, right? And so what we need to see in this range, because we have low to high, we have a range right now that is producing, that we haven't broken to the top side of that range, to the bottom side of the range. It's going to be very telling once we break either to the upside or downside. I'm just going to move my horizontal line just so it's less confusing for you. But we need the downside to be broke, or we need the top side to be broke. All right. Either way could be a good trade for tonight. Now, we're just going to watch price action here, and then I'll start taking questions a little bit. But if we break to the upside, if you look at this left shoulder that's using this area as support, and then it's pushing to the top of the range, okay? This could be manipulation right here, where it creates that head to the bottom side of that range to induce the sellers. You know, in order for there to be buyers, there have to be sellers. How do you induce them? You strike below a previous low, and then it pushes to the top, hits the top of that range, and pushes down again where it can't close. This could be the formation of right shoulder that we could potentially come and retest this trend line up here, which is an important trend line when you look at it, when you look at what it's doing. Right. So what that trend is doing currently is producing lower lows. So we could come back up there and retest it. All right, as a possibility. All right, everybody's clear on that. Hearts and minds are clear. It's good to see everybody on. Tim is on. Dr. Ann is on. Tamisha's on. Good to see everybody on. Yeah. And so that's what's currently happening, is that we're looking for the exhaustion to occur without complicating this too much. We're just looking for exhaustion to occur in this range and break to the downside and break to the upside. And you're going to have time to look at this. Now, one of the things that you have to keep an eye on is we had a large red engulfing candle, right? We got to see how the hour has just opened up. We're not going to see this whole hour play out. We're going to go down to some smaller time frames, but we want to see how this red candle, how the buyers are going to handle this red candle. If they fail to cover 100% of that candle with this hour candle, we're definitely headed to the downside. Those will be signals. All right. So that's something that we're looking for tonight. We know that once we enter in the position, we can kind of rest and walk away from the position. All right. So if we go to the 30-minute, we can see that TDI is pretty high here. We're starting to get somewhat divergent from peak to peak, but not really. So that kind of lends to, this is a retest. We broke through. We've been retesting, haven't been able to pass through. Kind of lends to that we're still headed to the downside. Okay. This 15 or 30-minute candle is now engulfing the last 30-minute candle. All right, but it's not an area of concern right now. All right, we're just pushing up. We're just going to watch and see how the TDI is going to respond at this level. All right, so now that I have this broken down, potentially where would the entry be? As it climbs higher, the sale is getting cheaper, but we have to be cautious of how the volume's going to come in here. All right. And so we're just going to be watching this just for a little bit. Don't want to turn too far away of it because I want you to get a nice position. And let me bring my orders back on the chart here, just so everyone can see where I'm at on the orders. Positions are in, and then the orders are in. So that way you can see exactly where I'm at on this. And this trade, let me bring in my trade box so you can see how much I'm risking here. So it's just one contract. You got to go full contract. I got 13. I'm risking 13.25 on this one trade. All right. So we're looking at how the TDI is going to come down on the hour. That's basically what we're trading, is that hour. And we're looking on lower time frames to see how the TDI is responding there. All right. And so that's the trade we're in. We're leaning towards the short side of things and watching as the TDI climbs up. Is it going to find exhaustion at this level again to the downside, or are we going to range tonight? So that's what's at play. That's what we're looking at. And that's what I have put up. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. And then I'm going to start taking questions here pretty soon on what we're talking about. I'm going to go over some fib stuff with gold, setups that I see on gold. And yeah, we'll have fun tonight. Now this is a nice buy for the 8 o'clock candle. This is a nice buy. I just will admit that this is a nice buy that we're currently in to the upside. So if anyone is in on the buys, I understand why. But really looking for this to exhaust, really looking for this area to be broken. But the buys for the interim looks really nice. So understand that. Understand the range we're in. That's the reason why we pulled the stop loss up a little bit above this structure, because we will have an interim range that we will be trading until this is broken. All right, so we're going to see how much of this candle gets eaten up. Everybody's aware of that. I'm going to show you now a few other opportunities, but do love this do love the buy, the interim buy that's currently on here, engulfing this red candle. So we'll see how this ends up here. I'm going to go to gold really quick just to show you this on a higher time frame, because I'm contemplating gold sales as well. And I'll show you why. Let me, because gold's been bullish. You can see this. The bulls have it. But what gold produced on the weekly is it hit a top of a double top up here and became really divergent, showing regular divergence. Regular divergence usually tells us that there's going to be a sell-off. Yeah, okay. That there's going to be a sell-off here. All right. And so usually those sell-offs come at the double top. So it's a double top or M pattern. Usually it's the break of that middle neck to the downside, and the potential on gold for downside movement is pretty high right now. So if you go to the monthly, you see that double top, you see that it's pushing down, you see that it's producing lower highs. You go to the 3-day, it's kind of more in focus. Possible test right here for the interim move would be right at the neckline right here. So tonight, push down to the neckline. If it breaks that, we could be coming down lower. Go to the day, you can see that neckline more in focus on gold. Let me pull up one thing here that I want to show on the day is pull out that fib, measure it. If you wanted to see the highs, you can see that we pushed down to the 50 and went back up, created the double top. We're pushing right back down to the 50, right? And so with that, structure has not been broken. We got to see if 50 is going to hold, but at least we're going to come back down, and we have a place that we could potentially retest that area. If you jump down to the hour, just knowing where the levels are right now, if you jump down to the hour, the place to take that short was right here. When it pushed up to the top side, the place to take that was down to the 50. All right. So where we're at right now, we're on the way down, and it's similar to Nikkei, but a little different, where we're believing the sellers are in the market. But as far as taking the range tonight, you're a distance away from the top side of that range and the bottom side of that range here. It's still a great move, whether it moves here or there, but in the range, you don't want to catch it on the top side. So that's the reason why we're choosing Nikkei tonight, where Nikkei has a better, a closer test that's happening at the bottom side of this range. And so we're going to see if we get the exhaustion that we're looking for, and if this is going to start pushing to the downside, or is it going to eat up that candle, is yet to be seen. All right, so I think I said enough. What questions do you have for tonight? Who is in this Nikkei short right now? And I do have one contract on. I wanted it to push a little higher, and I would add in one. I usually don't like adding into the stop loss. The original idea, usually when the 8 o'clock candle opens up, it usually goes. So you can see how the hour has little wicks when they open up. It is pushed down. So that it was really the 7 o'clock candle is really the one that I wanted. That would look something like that. But because we're on at 8, I took it late as soon as the 8 o'clock candle opened. And so I'm extending my stop loss up a little bit, risking a little more on this trade, and just waiting for the breakdown of this trade to happen first. All right, we just have this is a major level, so it's going to be, it needs to be tested. All right. You took a buy earlier this evening up to the sell point. That's nice. Yeah, I like that. I saw that earlier of when it was coming down and it was coming back to retest. It was a good entry up there, but still like the buys. I could see this. I could see the buys. Excuse me. Let me cut this down. I could see the buys as well, but really leaning to the short side of this. And evening markets is just like this. You look at it, you see what you see, you put it in the position, and you can kind of walk away from that point once the position is in. It's like, okay, we're seeing this as a sell-off, and is it going to sell off? If you look at Monday night at excuse me, Monday night, it was um, a quick push up to the trend line, and this was the sell off all throughout the night. I was actually in on this short, but that will happen where you may get the initial push, you mark out structure is going to hold, and you get the initial push down. You can just walk away from that. Sometimes it'll go against you, but our risk reward is such that when it does go against you one time, if you're in a 3-to-1 or 1-to-2, that's fine. All right. What other questions do you have for me tonight? So Kamika, you're in the trade. Who else is looking at Nikkei, or what else are you looking at? That's really the only stuff I look at during the night. Is either Nikkei. We're in Asian session. Nikkei is is like the New York NASDAQ. It's the Tokyo NASDAQ. It's basically what it is. 225 Japanese stocks are in this. When the volume comes in the 8 o'clock hour, that volume comes in through Asia. This will flow all throughout the London session. All right, and it looks like this is going to be a night where it kind of hangs out a little bit, and we'll just let it hang out, see what kind of move it makes. I'm just watching candlesticks at this moment. Talk candlesticks a little bit. All right, so if you look at the initial push up here, this is the first engulfing candle here. It left a lot of seller exhaustion though. So wasn't hugely excited about that. But it gives you that soldier type pattern to the downside. It's really testing liquidity. And just watching candle patterns on different time frames. Just seeing if we get any kind of volume that's engulfing, like this engulfing candle isn't a concern right now just because it hasn't given back this move. All right. And so we're going to see, and we know that we need this level broken before the real move happens, which is where I would take the trade anyway, but kind of living in this space right now until the move happens. So kind of watching candles here. My stop loss is just above this neckline. So the neckline is here at 38, let's call it 38.6. My stop loss is pulled up just above that neckline. 38.640 is where I want to be. And this is the thing, is that this very well could be a head and shoulder pattern where, this neckline is broke. It comes up and stands on top of that and head to the upside. So if that happens, really want to be taken out of that trade. And I can probably pull my stop loss down a little lower. You really don't need it to come that high to know that it's going against me. All right, so letting that play out. I took gold before you analyzed. Did you take that gold trade to the upside, or did you take it to the downside? Let me know on that. Because out of consolidation, there is some scalping that we can probably do on gold. I kind of like these candlesticks, the way that they're acting as support and the way it's retesting right here. Probably move this down, then stretch that over, and then you can kind of see the tweezer bottoms the 10-minute shark fin, the 5-minute that's coming up. So you probably could scalp that. I'm not sure if that's what you mean, that you were in the buys. You were in a short? Okay. A short from the top. That was a good sell down to support. That was a good sell down to support. This shark fin divergence, though, looks like it's coming back up to the top. Don't like to trade out of the range. It's a range high, range low here. Don't like the range. That's the reason why I'm not looking at that one at the moment. Dre, New York session. New York session was a mixed bag. I'll show you the NAS trade I was in on New York session that I didn't believe. I may still have it here. I was actually looking for NAS buys. Where was we at? Yeah, price was in here in this consolidation. I was actually looking, you can probably see it better on the 5-minute. Well, actually I broke even and then started making a little money in another account, but I think it was a 9 o'clock candle after the 9 o'clock news. I think it was this candle here that I entered into buys on, which was decent. Is this the 5? Yeah, this is a Tuesday 9 o'clock candle. Yeah. So it was this candle here that pushed up. Was looking for the buys anyway, but this candle pushed up. I entered in looking for the break or the neckline. Not really analyzing it. Don't know the levels. I was deleting it just to look at it again, but it pushed up. I entered into buys. It sold down to here. And when it sold down, I think I was down like 4,000 in one account that I had built up that was hefty. We have a $6,000 drawdown from our starting balance, but lost 4,000 out of that one. And then closed the call about 15 minutes later. When price pushed back up and rejected, I entered into sales again and made the 4,000 back. And then when we started rejecting, I started getting into the buys on NAS. So had to get my hands dirty on NAS a little bit. Gave me a run for the money, but ended up on top. Everyone else was in US 30, which did well. I think a few people were in gold, but it was a good morning session. All right, we're back down for the retest. On Nikkei, I'll show you really quick what that 15-minute candle looks like. That 15-minute pushed up. We did not give back that move, which is important. And so this looks good. Is that this candle pushed down? We did not give back that move. Right, so buyers are getting exhausted there, and we're right back down to a level of support. So we're just waiting for this to break through, and we should start seeing profits here pretty soon. Oh, you passed another challenge. That's good. Good. Yeah, that's what I like to hear. Another challenge pass. Yeah, great job on that, Dr. Denise. Yeah, US 30 was very interesting. It was some really good structure on US 30 for the buys. And I know Nedra was making money, but this was a good buy on US 30 this morning. I'm so happy you passed another challenge. That's an awesome job. All right. How long do you manually... that's a good question, Corey. How long do you wait for a retest and how much time? It really depends on volume. And this is important. I'll tell you this, the longer that it takes on a retest, the less interested I am on the retest. All right. So we kind of, with structure, we kind of know the setup that we're looking for. We know that we want this level to be broke. if it starts tapping that and it can't get through it, that's kind of an indication, one, that the volume's not there, but the momentum isn't forceful enough to break through the test zone. So I start to lose interest after we start getting bounces off of that. That tells me, oh, we're in a range, or there's still some upside pressure that needs to leave before I show interest in it again. So it really depends on how it is. Usually, when you look at, for instance, here, it rejected here, went to the top side. When it started coming down, it didn't waste any time. It just pushed through it, went through, and then came back for the retest, and then pushed lower, right? And so it really didn't waste any time with it. That's what you want to see. When it starts standing on top and not being able to pass through, I wouldn't be interested in it at that point, right? Sort of like now with this trade. This candle, if we go down to let's go down to we'll use the 15-minute. If this 15-minute candle, which has 12 minutes, if this doesn't close below it, I am going to be very disinterested in this trade. All right, so that was a good question. Let me just show you what I'm looking at here. Is that, so we had this big engulfing candle on the hour. We gave back 50% of the move, and now we pushed back to the bottom. This candle should produce a new low here, if the test is correct. If we're going to push down, if it retraces from here, I'm no longer interested in this trade, right? And so it kind of depends on that retest. But that's a great question of you constantly, and that's why it's important not to give stagnant signals, right? Because these retests, you're testing different things all the time to see if you're going in the right direction, and price will tell you that. And that happens, it'll occur over time, where you start getting your eye starts getting more in line with what the market is doing, and you start to know if price is going to go through here or not. All right, so the bulls gave up 100% of their run right now, right? And so we need the bears to just overtake it. We don't want them fighting back and forth. The bulls couldn't close more than what the bears were in. The bears are in the market in control. We want to see the bears engulf that candle completely and push to the downside. All right, so that's what we're looking for here. Otherwise, we're not going to be interested in this trade anymore, which is fine. But good question. And the more that you see these type of things, the more your eye will get adjusted to it. And here comes the breakdown where the bulls are giving back that move, and now we're starting to get that breakdown. And so now we can kind of trust that we're going to move that stop below that, because we don't want these guys fighting back and forth. So we're going to move the stop down based off of the retest that's happening. We're getting the breakdown that we want. We know where we're at in space. We know this is a retest, so I'm going to get rid of this box just so we know what we're looking for, just so things become a little clearer for everyone. And we're going to move the stop loss down a little bit. And I don't like to stack into the trade while it's going against me, but when it's going in my direction, I'll begin to add on positions. Right? We just have the one contract on right now, and that's it. The Bulls lost that fight. They gave back 100% of the fight and more, so the Bears are now in control. All right. If the Bears give the fight back, we wouldn't want to be in that trade, right? If the Bears give it back at this point, we don't want to be in this. All right, so we'll let this one play out. We got to wait for the fallout, but that's good. Bulls tried to do their thing. They couldn't. Now we should be falling down from here. And that's that's pretty much the trade right there. I mean, I think we're in a really good position. I think we did a nice retest. And so let's see if what we do here. Yeah. So you said and this is a question that I used to struggle with when I was first starting out trading. Who's in control? What price is saying? How is it moving? And I could just say just a blanket statement that it's you need chart time, which is true. You do need chart time to see who's in control, when they're in control, uh, all of that stuff. You do need that chart time. I will say that. But I think there's a better answer for those type of questions when you're thinking about it. We sort of discussed this on our morning call this morning, is of not just seeing the candle, but understanding the human side of it, of what is going on in the market that is between the bulls and the bears. So bulls are individuals that want to push price up. What they believe that this is the bottom, that price the value of price should be a lot higher, right? And that's what they're believing, just based on what they're seeing as a derivative of what's going on in the market. So if you look at Nikkei is not a stock. It's a combination or derivative of actual stocks that are being traded in Japan, right? And so it's just an interpretation of what value is, right? And so if majority of the people are pushing in one direction, it is going to be hard, just because you want it to be higher. If the majority of the market is pushing it down, the majority is going to win, right? And so you look at what I did earlier is identified where are levels that we could potentially push this down to. And really the level that we've identified is this 38.2 zone, where that makes sense. If you're going to push down to create a new low and you're looking for old support, where are you going to find that at? You're going to find that at 38.2. That was really the analysis of what we were doing from the weekly to the daily. All right. So that isn't a chart. That isn't a chart in itself. That's just what's happening in the macro economy. That creates a bias or a sentiment of direction, right? And so even though the chart shows a lot of chaos, it shows a lot of consolidation, you know that there has been more bulls that have price has been a lot higher, and the bulls have been pushing price down. It hits the trend line. It's just been pushing price down. This has produced lows. We barely have pushed down into lows. So we're in the middle of this move. And where are we headed? We're headed to where that trend has pushed price before, right? And so that's not really a current chart. That's just a macro statement that we pushed down to here before. When the sellers came into control, that's the direction that they pushed. Right. And so that is not really a chart. That's just a bias. You can look at news, you can read magazines, you can do different things and read that. All right. So that if that is your bias now, when you look at the candles, they're representation of what that bias is saying. And so when you look at the candles, say your bias was short and you created that. When you look at the candles and you see that every attempt to push higher doesn't create a new high, that in your mind should click and say the bears are still in control. Those that were selling are still in control. When they're making attempts to push higher, the highs are failing. Now, and that's why I said I wouldn't have been interested if it broke to the upside. If it broke to the upside, the buyer's attempt to push higher is working. But So far, it's failed to work, right? And so those kind of tests and retests, you have to get good at just seeing it with your eye, interpreting what the overall market is doing, who's in control. It's either going to be, for the day, it's either going to be the bear or it's going to be the bull. And tonight it looks like the bulls have it, or the bears have it. Right? This was a big down move that introduced a new low. This was a failed attempt, failed auction to the upside, produced another low. This was a failed auction to the upside. It's now retesting a low. It's not really falling through now, which says that there's something happening here. We should have been falling through by this point. So that does tell us that there's something happening at this zone. But for the most part, I think this is a good idea, just to leave it and watch it fall. Is this going to be a red candle? From the looks of it, it does look that way. Like you have rejection here. You have rejection. We're starting to climb down lower. This is actually a retest, and then we failed from that. So this has potential to fall from here. And I think it's a good risk to reward trade for tonight. So that's my methodology on it, on why I take it. I moved the stop loss, a lieu of waiting down here. We produced a lower high here. So now I'm using that as my test zone. So now I'm not risking that much. Move that down, and we're going to risk that. So right now I have 625 at risk now. Starting to get the exhaustion to the downside. So if it passes through here, we'll get this last liquidity grab here. If it passes up through there, then we wouldn't be interested in it at that point. All right, so like I said, we need the 15-minute candle to give back 100% of that move. We got about 2 minutes left on that candle, and we'll see what it does. But good question. It's like when we was first starting off with trading, it was 1,000 questions. Like I need to know. And before I used a lot of indicators. When you, I see that with traders is that when that dissonance come into the mind, you want to pull from anything that will help you make sense of the market. And so a lot of people will go to a lot of different indicators, and that's fine to start off. But what you'll find in time is just knowing how to interpret the chart for what it is. And you'll start to get rid of a lot of the indicators and just interpret price action based off of what it's doing. And the best thing to do that with is chart time, back testing, seeing the chart over and over again to know what it's doing. All right. If you don't like watching the noise here, just back out of it. Go to the hour. Look at your confirmation here. Look at the TDI and just say, I'll just wait for the TDI just to fall all the way out. Walk away from it. Don't even worry about it. Just let price do its thing. This is not one of those things like it's a job. You have to make it work. You're powerless with the market. So you enter your position down or up, you put your risk on, and then you let the market work. That's basically what's happening. We're just letting the market work tonight. But good questions. What are you stuck on? What do you want to see tonight? What do you want to see that you need help on? Let's use these segments as a opportunity to grow and learn. It's slow markets. Price is going to do what it's going to do. Just let price run. But what are we going to look at? What's something that what question you've been asking that you want to answer to? Yeah, that failed to the downside. That test to me says that there's some bulls coming into the market. You kind of look at you have an upside. You should have an upside bias when you start to see that. So very quickly, you fall out of agreement when ours sort of is the best way to see it. But this is the down move, and you think about reversal patterns. It's a manipulation move. that produces a low, and then it comes up, hits the neckline, comes back down and retests that low, but it doesn't push lower, right? And so in your mind, to switch instantly, say that this is a reversal pattern, and the best place for these is right here, is what you should be thinking in your mind. Like, and that's when you say, how long do you wait for a retest? Really, that 15-minute candle should have busted through there. This 15-minute candle, which has 2 minutes left, I think, a little less than 2 minutes. Or did it just open? Yeah, it just opened. That should have busted through there, and it closed on top, right? So that's your first indication that, okay, something is happening. That candle should have pushed through. Something is happening there. And so now we should be thinking upside, because now we're failing. Just the same reason that we wanted the shorts, we're failing to the downside, right? So this is the point where we say, oh, we don't like this movement at this point. The VWAP, every time you add it, does not add properly, and I need to get more understanding on its importance. Okay, yeah, we can cover that. Really quick, I just want to explain this last thing. When a trade does not work in your favor, just look at that, understand why, and you're either going to have failed auctions to the upside or failed sales to the downside. But look at the levels that they're failing on, and understand why it's rejecting where it's rejecting, to help frame your bias. And I said this morning, is that you're a trader. So traders trade. And so you got to make one trade, then you got to make another trade, you got to make another trade. And so this is one trade that failed the auction right here. All right, so there's two things, there's a couple things, but there's a few things that are going on. One, you knew that this is the area that needs to be broken. It failed. So now you should no longer be interested in the short side sale. All right. Two, you have to wait for a retest. So it has to either break here or have to break here. Don't take it before then. Once it breaks, let it retest. When this trade doesn't work, let it retest and take it off of the retest. All right. On the downside, if you're going to layer into this trade, don't enter into the trade in between this range. If you're going to layer in, let it break, retest, let it come back up, retest, enter in and stack in the position there to the downside, right? Right now, you have to just account that loss as one trade, let that trade be gone, and then take the next trade on the upside or break through to the downside, retest to the downside. Okay. All right. Now, in terms of VWAP, volume weighted average price, the what you're looking at is really fair value. There's a lot of things. It's what investors believe fair price is. That's what moving averages is. It's the weighted movement of the last, 50, 100, 200 candles. VWAP is something similar, except it's weighted for this to the session. So it calculates and does that math equation for the entire session up to this point and shows you where average weighted price is. When you bring the indicator up, don't go to a lot of different indicators. Just bring the indicator up that says VWAP. So if you just type in VWAP, it should just say volume weighted average price. That's the one that you should be bringing up. Make sure that's starred. When it's starred, it will appear in your indicators on the left. When you hit the gear button, make sure you hide it from the VWAP on the 1 day or above, just because you can't see it. It's anchored to the session and it starts over at that. So you don't want that. So make sure that's checked. On the anchor period, make sure it's anchored to the session. That's really the only thing I got to show you, is make sure that it's anchored to the session and go from there. And what's going to happen is price is going to act as a magnet. VWAP is going to act as a magnet to push price up to where this is, right? Or push price down to where it is. And so it's the same way that we use moving averages, is that it will act as dynamic support and dynamic resistance, right? And so it gives you a target. It's not the end all be all. It just gives you a bias of where direction is going to happen, where rejection is going to happen in the market. That's really the only thing you can see. And you can change this to a week or a month. Sometimes it's a little higher or a little lower. So so you can potentially see where the week is going. All right. So that's the way I use it, at least. All right. We're reaching the top of where that stop loss is. Let me see, which volume indicator do you use? Which one? I have two on here. So one just overall volume that comes into the market. Here, let me go to my indicators. I don't know who that one's by. You just type in volume for that one. It just gives you a volume profile. Have that one starred. And then if you're looking at volume profiles, I actually don't know who I am using. Let me see. Yeah, you see it here, volume profile. And I don't think, yeah, it's just fixed range by Lonesome is the owner of that, Lonesome, for the volume profile. All right. And I know there is a lot of different styles that trade within our group. For the most part, it's support and resistance. I like to, the early on, it helps gauge your eyes to see what price is doing. So you get comfortable with what price is doing. But I get used to toggling them off and on. Don't allow your eye to see this stuff over an extended period of time. You really want to have interpretation of price action movements outside of the indicators. And the way that you want to bring the indicators on is to verify what your confluence is saying. If you do your candlestick analysis, if you look at the chart and mark out your support and resistance, at that point, then you can turn on an EMA and say, oh, okay, it's rejecting off that 800. And it may, if it doesn't break that, it may push up to the 200. All right. So you can toggle those on and off. Same thing with the VWAP. Oh, okay, it's rejecting, it's coming, it's rejecting currently off the VWAP. All right, that's the hold up right here. All right, you can toggle those on and off. All right, so a good way to look at that. Disclosure of crypto, the Gary Network project. I'm not familiar with that, what that is. Not sure what that is, but definitely I love to learn. So I may go take a look at it. Yeah, I may go take a look at it. Oh, which one were you talking? The yellow and blue one. Let's see. Not that one, the yellow and blue one. Okay. Okay, yeah. The volume profile. Fixed range volume profile. Yeah. And I love that one. I like using it more on the 15-minute and the 5-minute. Because I like to see where the orders are on that 5-minute, 15-minute chart, where it's showing. So you can see a lot of the rejections are coming in off of that level. Actually, a lot of buy orders are coming in as well off of that level. So I like to use it for that as well. Yeah, that's what I was looking at, is the inverted head and shoulder. I see it clear on the 1 hour. You're seeing it on the 15-minute. I'm seeing it on the 1 hour. More so, as this is the top of that range. This is left shoulder. This is the head, right shoulder. If this is manipulation, and I specifically looking at it because we can't break this level. And so at this point, we're close to the end of the hour. I wouldn't let this run. This level needs to be broke. That's why I moved down my stop loss. This candle should be breaking this level if it's going to run to the downside. I'm not seeing that. So now I am looking at this as a potential buy because we have a failed auction to the downside, right? Those sellers had every opportunity to close lower and they have not. So that's the reason why I'm looking at that as a failed auction. And this could be, like Kamika said, a very significant candle. And this is the way we traded. We traded on the break of to the top side. What introduced this low was this green candle. If it is going to go the upside, this break to the downside is manipulation. And so what we could see is a break of this level first. That's the reason why we moved the stop loss down, is a break and then a retest and take that to the upside. Right. So right now we broke it and we're staying below it. But as soon as we get the break to the upside, kind of want to be out of the trade. And so, yeah, we'll see what happens here. But we're starting to fail that piece. But that's the trade. I'm going to leave mine on, let it play out. If it breaks above this level, I'm no longer interested into it. It's starting to fail that auction to the downside. So we have 625 at risk here, and comfortable with that risk. Let that hit the stop loss here. For those that are looking for the buys and wants to trade this inverted head and shoulders, I understand why. It's a good trade, but I don't think it's anything is this or gold would be worth trading as far as holding it tonight, simply because we just don't have the volume. We've come here before, and by that 820, we're seeing that 8 o'clock candle move in the direction, and you can just hold it and let it run all night. We're not seeing that tonight. It's in consolidation. It's slowing down this the sell movements, and so we're making quick evaluation of the consolidation that we could be pushing up to the upside. So yeah, this one we'll see what it does, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a big night for trading. But that's evening markets. Yeah, either price is going to pull towards VWAP in a consolidated market, but when it starts to trend, you'll find the VWAP following price. All right, so you'll see that when you turn on the VWAP and back test, and make sure you're back testing. So VWAP is up here. When price starts to trend down, you'll see the VWAP follow price down. So VWAP is not going to stay up here like the moving average is down. It's going to follow price down and do what price does. Right. So right now it's turning flat. To me, it just looks like price wants to climb on top of it and go to the upside. Yeah, we got a lot of news this week, and that's why I wouldn't be anxious for a trade in this night. There's a lot of red folder news coming. It's NFP week, so we get a lot of USD news, which is going to be huge for our morning calls. So preserve that capital. Doesn't look like anything is moving right now. Doesn't look like we're at zero. We're at zero completely on Nikkei right now. So Nikkei literally has not moved from the session open. All right, so we're just stuck in this range right now. But let's hold out for news and see what we have going. I'm gonna let this trade run. We'll see what happens with it. If I go to bed a little earlier, I may just close out of this and take a few $100 loss on it. No, slippage is a factor of having a decentralized exchange. So Forex, there isn't a centralized broker. That's the reason why you're going to have the slippage, because each broker has a determination of what price is. Futures does not have that kind of slippage because there's only one price. Chicago Mercantile Exchange is producing the price. So how could one exchange have slippage in their price? So you're just going to have one price. The broker a regulated broker has to report the true price of what it is, and so you're not going to have the same slippage as you would with a forex broker, just for that reason. But good question. Well, it looks like I'm going to get taken out of this trade. I kind of want to get out of this one. It goes back to Corey's question of how long do you wait for the retest? Well, my retest was based on that 15-minute candle that couldn't close or stay closed below. That was my retest. Maybe disinterested in the buys in lieu of risking the whole 1600, brung it down, have 600 at risk, and closing out of the trade there with that risk. So it's right now just at my deal. I'm going to hit the close button because I'm no longer interested in the sales, interested in the buys, interested in this inverted head and shoulders. I'm not going to trade it, but if you are, wait for the break, wait for the retest, enter off the retest, take it to the trend line, possibly up to 39,000 tonight and beyond. So that will do this. We're 2 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. Thanks for showing up for night markets. We're going to do this Tuesdays and Thursdays. Do you like the night markets? Who all likes the night markets? It's definitely interesting. We could talk, we can learn together, we can have trades. And then, as you're aware, we'll be back on the charts 6 a.m. tomorrow with devotion and prayer. And then we'll get to charting right after that. But yeah, I like this time. And this has been something I've been doing privately, but I like jumping on here in the nights, asking questions. I like the way the 8 o'clock candle trades. Some nights you get it like this, where markets move kind of slow on the 8 o'clock hour. Let's just look at that 8 o'clock candle. Yeah, the 8 o'clock candle didn't go anywhere. It's that little bitty candle right there. 9 o'clock looked like it's going to do something, but this was the 8 o'clock candle. So not a lot of movement tonight, which is fine. We'll let the 9 o'clock run and see what it does. But no, I'm glad everybody like it. Glad everybody like it. I see you, Ruben. Michelle says she likes it. Corey likes it. Yeah. It's a skill set worth learning. It's going to feed you for a lifetime and feed you generationally. So appreciate everybody showing up. Make sure you like and subscribe. It really helps. Make sure you leave comments. It really helps us spread the word about the movement that we're in and what we're doing. Appreciate everybody jumping on tonight. Make sure you're here in the morning for our 6 a.m. live call when the morning markets start to move. And it has been fun, everyone. So, yeah, I think we're going to end it here. Everybody have a good night, and we will talk to you in the morning.